Hello everyone, and welcome again. I'm Rob Heel, and this week, we're at Upper Oxbow Adventures on the world-renowned Miramichi River in New Brunswick. But we're not here for Atlantic salmon. Instead, we're gunning for striped bass. This is a relatively new sport fishery, but from what we've been told and based on our own research, it's world-class and a brand new bucket list adventure that should be experienced by any fly angler.
There's just so many things you can do here. We're fishing these fish now just like Atlantic salmon. Come into the gut out of the boat and came down into this run. I've made 3 casts and hooked 3 fish.
They wanted something a little more substantial, so we put on this garside gurgler, which doesn't really look like a bait fish, but it's a big enough silhouette in the water, and the fish have been going crazy for it.
There's another 30-inch striper.
After seeing those fish busting baits, we had to do this. And it's just, again, and this is another good fish too. This is another big fish.
Oh man, that's a big fish. That's way over 33 inches.
Ooh, that's a nice sized fish. What?
Absolutely fantastic.
The new fly fisher is supported by Tourism New Brunswick, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada.
There's a new game during the spring months in northern New Brunswick. Once known mainly for its kelp or black salmon season, the rivers around the Bay of Chaleur and the northeastern shore near Newcastle and Miramichi fill up with striped bass. And when I say fill up, I mean they fill up, particularly the Miramichi and her lower tributaries. Opportunities to do a special fishing trip like this with your father don't come along every day. Although Dad and I still fish a fair bit together, this was a very unique adventure for both of us.
Do you think we're up to 50 now?
Oh. I would probably say. As I said, we have a very special guest this week. I would like to introduce you to my father, Mike Heel. Come on in here, Dad. This is the guy that got it all started for me 44 years ago and taught me everything he knew in 20 minutes. We gonna knock him dead today?
Yeah, I think we'll go catch a fish or 2.
All right, let's go. Our first morning began with light rain.
There's fruit over here on the buffet.
just after breakfast, the skies cleared, and we drove to the river in sunshine and very little wind. As beautiful as the morning turned out to be, my tough conditions radar was peaking. As the river was glassy calm and the skies were as big and bright as they get. My expectations at this point were low, but we were still enthusiastic to be fishing new water. It wouldn't be long, though, before those low expectations were shattered.
There's a fish. There's a fish. You got one. I got one. Look at that son of a gun. I got one. Not a big fish, but that's a little schoolie. We'll take it. We'll take it. Figure out how he's hooked here. Oh, there it is. Oh, you got it.
I typically cringe when I hook a fish right off the hop, as more often than not, as I'm sure many of you would agree, it's often the kiss of death. This, however, was more of a harbinger of what was to come over the next 3 days.
There's another one. Ah, you got another one. That might be a little heavier fish.
Yeah, I know what kind of fly you gave me.
One back.
Easy.
About the same size, a little bigger. They're getting, that's an improvement. That's an improvement. Come here now. That's an improvement. That's an improvement. They're pretty fish, little irregular striping. That's about a 18 or 19 inch fish.
How deep are you going down?
I'm letting it sink pretty good, but I've got an intermediate line, so the whole line is sinking a little bit. Here, switch.
Hey,
Switch with me.
no, you're doing okay.
Well, I know I'm doing okay. Bob has explained to us that this is about as high as the tide gets, so we're kind of waiting for it to drop out, and that's going to pull the bait fish out from the area above us. So I'm fishing a full intermediate sinking line, and I'm just giving it 10 or 12 seconds to get down, and then starting my retrieve. We've already got a couple of fish right off the bat. I've made, oh, there's another one. There's one. So they're here. They're definitely here. And that seems to be the ticket, just letting it get down and ripping it back just like I'd fish almost any kind of streamer, really. Again, about the same size. They're not huge fish yet, but we're getting them. And they take hard. They're vicious eaters. Pretty fish. Go back. So Dad, try and get to the point where you're fishing your rod tip right in the water.
Yeah.
You'll miss far fewer fish because your rod tip is very direct to the fly. So what I was just explaining to my dad was when we're retrieving with heavy flies like this, sink tips, you lose an enormous amount of feel when you're retrieving with the rod tip high like this. And so what you're getting is there's a lot of sway and slack in the rod tip right here. If that fish hits in between strips, you're really compromising the feel. So I like to, and I've been told this by way too many guides to not believe it, with your rod tip just in the water, you reduce that sway and slack. You're far more direct to the fish. When they hit it, you don't miss them. I knew it was only a matter of time before Dad hit his stride. And before long, we were pretty much going fish for fish. Not bad for 81 years young.
Oh, there's one.
Ah, there you go, Dad.
Fighty little things, aren't they?
For the rest of the morning, the fishing remained steady, and we all got our share. The numbers of willing fish that we were casting to was almost unrealistic. Oh, Dad's into a fish.
That's a little bigger than the other one.
That's a little better, yeah.
Yeah.
It was certainly something that Dad and I had never experienced and far exceeded any expectations that we had, despite doing a fair bit of research on this sport fishery. There's a fish way out there too, jeez. This is just constant. It would go maybe 10 minutes without a fish. And then they just seem to turn on again. Great sport. Great sport. Bob was telling us earlier that this is probably the toughest time to fish. There's not a lot of, with the high tide, there's not a lot of definition in the water. We're not seeing fish busting anywhere, but we're still hooking fish. We were just talking about what a wonderful fishery this is to introduce people to fly fishing. You don't necessarily need sink tips. When the water starts to drop and we get some flow going through here, we're only going to be in about 4 feet of water. So for new fly fishers, not only are you hooking a lot of fish, you're learning how to set hooks, you're learning how to fight big fish. So it really covers the gambit. This is about as much fun you can have with your pants on. He is staying down. I got a look at him earlier and he didn't seem huge, but he's sure fighting big. Oh, it's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's a nice fish. We talked to Bobby and asked him to give us his take on the Miramichi striped bass fishery. What he had to say may surprise many of you, but having experienced it at its best, we're certain that you can take his word for it.
It's a world-class fishery, that's for sure. There might be another place, but I don't know of it, where you can catch this sheer volume of fish that we catch here. These striped bass, they've always been here. They're native species to the river. If a biologist was being honest with themselves, they would say there's no real way to count the sheer volume of these things that is in the Miramichi right now. Hundreds of thousands, I don't know, millions. I would say millions. Today there'll be hundreds of boats and hundreds of fishermen. And for the most part, everybody will be having very good luck. You know, you're talking about putting thousands of fish in a boat every weekend or every day.
I honestly don't know what to say about this. We have literally hooked 100 fish this morning in 3 hours. And a lot of them are smallish, but for consistent action, I mean, we've also got a couple of 7-8 pounders in that mix. So I think now that we've kind of got it dialed in, not that it took much to get it dialed in, now I'd like to see what it takes to consistently catch bigger fish. And right now, all I'm doing is basically swinging this fly like I was Atlantic salmon or steelhead fishing. And I'm getting a hit on just about every cast. This feels like a little better fish, Bob. Oh yeah, that's a good one. This is what we're looking for on a regular basis. Yeah, not that I'm complaining about those little guys, but this is a solid striped bass. Man, you can never complain about getting a bunch of those. Miramichi striped bass. Nothing like it right now, I'll tell you. You're going back in.
There has to be hundreds of thousands, I don't know, millions.
For our striped bass fishing on the Miramichi, we were casting 8, 9, and even 10 weights for all of the reasons that we've covered in the past. While many of the fish were on the small side, when dealing with big currents and large flies, it just makes more sense to go heavier rather than play the fish too long and stress them. In addition to that, there's always the chance of those 15 to 20 pound fish, so you're better to be heavy than too light. We matched our rods with large arbor reels loaded with lines from floating for our topwater patterns to type 3 sinking lines. We never needed long leaders as the fish were anything but leader shy, so we stuck to 16 to 20 pound test in lengths of 3 to 8 feet. If you're going to tie or purchase flies for a striper trip to the Miramichi, all of your garden variety bait fish patterns, such as bucktail streamers and lefty deceivers, in smelt or alewife colors is really all you need. For our surface flies, we fished only garside gurglers, as the fish wouldn't lay off them, but we were told that conventional bass poppers on the large side will take fish regularly. Keep this in mind when you're going to the Miramichi, whether you're fishing striped bass or Atlantic salmon. The majority of the water is single barbless hooks, so don't bring any double hook flies or hooks with trailers to New Brunswick. There's one. Ooh, this might be a heavier fish. Oh, I think it is. I think it is. This might be a better fish, Bob. Hard to say, you know, sometimes they just fight big, but he's fighting good. Oh yeah, it's considerably bigger. Yeah, that's a big fish. It's not a huge, I mean, it's bigger than we're getting. Oh yeah, that's a nice fish. That's a nice fish. This is a beauty, Bob. It's a beauty. I'm gonna say he's probably 8 pounds. He might be bigger.
Ooh, that's a nice fish, Rob.
Nice, Dan. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. What a beauty. What a beauty. That barbless hook comes right out of there. What a magnificent fish. Look at that. Look at that, eh? Isn't that a nice fish? Miramichi striped bass. That's the biggest one yet. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. I've literally lost count of how many striped bass we've caught here today, between 16 inches and 27 inches. We've probably hooked 100 fish. When I say it's the opportunity of a lifetime, if you've got a young person in your life or a new fly fisherman that you would love to get them into a lot of fish, plus teach them a number of presentations, you got to come to Upper Oxbow Adventures. It's sensational. To really learn to fly fish, learn a number of different presentations, come to Upper Oxbow Adventures sometime between second week in May and the first week in June, and you're in for something special. Oh, there he is. Although the majority of fish on this morning were on the smaller side, the consistency more than made up for it, and there were certainly enough better than average fish in the mix to keep us on our toes. Upper Oxbow Adventure is a modern, well-appointed drive-to facility that has everything a sportsman requires. Located on the shore of the little southwest Miramichi, it is well-positioned and in reach of both Atlantic salmon and striper water. In fact, during our stay, we were never more than a 30-minute drive or boat ride to where we fished. With 2 main guest houses, along with traditional log cabins, Upper Oxbow can accommodate small parties, families, or larger groups. Throw into this mix a modern conference facility, mixing business with a little pleasure couldn't be more comfortable or effortless. On our second day, the weather took a turn for the worse and gave us high winds and a pretty good chance of rain. But as the old adage goes, you don't leave fish to find fish, so we returned to the flats from the day before. As you can see, it's sort of a 180-degree turn from the weather we experienced yesterday with the high sun. And oddly enough, I'm not a big fan of fishing in high sun, but you can't argue with the success we had yesterday. Today, the temperature has dropped. A fairly cool front came in overnight. Not crazy dramatic, but enough that at this point, it seems like we're having to work for the fish. So I'm starting out today, just based on my own experiences, I'm starting out today with a 30-foot sinking line, and I'm getting the fly quickly to the bottom. And today we may have to fool around with the retrieve, the depth, and the flies to really key in on these stripers, which yesterday were so cooperative. Today they're being a little unfriendly. We'll see how it goes. Pulling pretty good. Oh, that's a better fish. Better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. They're a pretty fish. One fish doesn't make a pattern, and so far all of the fish that I've hooked have been on that small side. Again, I'm not complaining. And it could just be the cycle. I found yesterday if we caught one 25-inch fish, we generally hook 3 or 4, and then same thing with those small fish. When we got one, we generally hook 3 or 4. So I think they move around quite a bit and they school in their own age classes. It might just be happenstance that when you get into the small fish, you're going to catch a few of them, and you just got to wait for the big fish to come by. It's the importance of keep fishing, keep covering water, try new things. There's certainly no lack of fish. We fooled around on the flats for a while longer, but the wind on the river was relentless and forced us off for an early lunch. We did manage a few fish, but it was clear we would need to do something different today to find cooperative stripers. On the afternoon of our second day, Dad was a little on the tired side, so he stayed back at the camp for some much-needed rest, while Bobby and I headed upriver. As we continued upriver, we came to a braid on the left bank and were stunned to see what looked to be thousands of stripers on a shallow gravel bar. The sheer number of fish galvanized what Bobby had talked about earlier. The challenge now was how to fish to them. I wouldn't dare cast a fly into the school on the gravel bar because the odds of me foul hooking one was simply too high. But my sense was there may be a few stragglers in the deep run below. So I headed down there to try something different. As if I wasn't already having fun, these few minutes waiting in that little run did it for me. I think it was at this moment that I gained a greater appreciation for these wonderful fish. They are as close to perfect as a sporting fish gets, and it was almost like the Miramichi was going out of her way to show me all of her wonderful fishing dimensions.
There's just so many things you can do here. We're fishing these fish now just like Atlantic salmon. Got out of the boat and came down into this run. I've made 3 casts and hooked 3 fish. When this fish took, it took in a school of another bunch of fish and they all scattered. We probably went right back in there. They don't seem to be overly afraid of us. It's like they can't help themselves. Anything that looks baity, they can't help themselves.
The Miramichi really did show us a time. In fact, the fishing was so good that everybody got in on the action, including our camera guy, Ryan.
Oh, nice fish. Nice fish.
Ryan's got a hot fish here. It could be a big one too.
That's a pretty good sized fish. 10 pounds at least. It's kind of different to the way that they're taken here too. They're like, you're seeing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's visual. Wolf,
very near the
top of
surface.
water.
He took Ryan into his backing in about 20 seconds, but we slowly gained some line. The tail's a long ways away from the fly. That's a good fish. Oh, mercy. That is a big fish. You got him. You got him.
That's like...
That's the big fish so far. A 31-inch striper. Bob figures it'll go
over 10 somewhere, may go 15 maybe, but like over 10, maybe 12, 13 pounds.
Let's get him in. Launch him.
Upper Oxbow Adventures was turning out to be pretty special. Now, I'm not naive, at least when it comes to fishing, and I've been doing this long enough to know that this kind of thing doesn't happen every day. But when it does, my advice is appreciate it and lock it into your memory, because they're often once-in-a-lifetime opportunities.
I sincerely believe that we here at Upper Oxbow Outdoor Adventures have everything to offer. We have been here since 1823, the river behind me. This has been my home. We have built the property from a few old, very, very rustic cabins to we've got some really nice lodges these days. We've got all the amenities and creatures that you would find at home. When it comes to striped bass, we've got a product that is unparalleled by anyone, anywhere. I really think we're well positioned to welcome striped bass fishers to the Miramichi River. So here at the Oxbow, we offer a lot of different things when it comes to fishing. It's fishing for Atlantic salmon, striped bass, trout. We also have full exclusive packages here where you can come, you can get your guide, they'll have their boat and motor, they have access to the river, they know where they're going, and we couple that along with accommodations and meals. So we have a variety of accommodations here at the Oxbow. We have some rustic cabins. They have been refurbished 2 or 3 times. We also have some new lodges that we've built. The rooms are all en suite. You have your own room. Most of them are equipped with either a double bed and a single or a queen bed and a single. Of course, like I said, you've got your own bathroom, your own shower. There's some common areas where you can sit when you're not on the river fishing. You can watch TV. One of the lodges has a pool table in it, and we've got a great deck. We've got a hot tub. When you get tired of playing fish, you can always relax and ease those sore muscles in the hot tub.
For our last day, we pushed on just upriver to a new run. And it didn't take long before we found another massive school of fish holding in deeper water. Total fishing insanity again. Now I'm really leaning on this fish and putting a lot of side pressure on it. The more line that's in the water, the more pressure they feel, and they might just, that can often inure them to turn. And again, this is a 10-weight rod, so it's a meat stick, and everything I can do. You're just like Captain Billy Tyne. You always find the fish. That is a beautiful Miramichi striper. I can't say enough about this fishery. Let's get her back. So we've been moving around looking for fish, dealing with wind. It's been a heck of a day, and now we've kind of relocated them. And I'm just gonna show you what I'm doing here. Basically, I'm just swinging the fly off this ledge beside me, and the fish seem to be very oriented right to this seam in front of me, but there's no, I'm almost gonna say it's cast it and leave it alone, and then you've still got the strip before you pick it up and make another cast. And now, just like I'm fishing Atlantic salmon, I'm just gonna add a foot and let it sink in there again. Get rid of my loop, get it to the line, and hang on. There's a hit, there's a hit. Come on back, come on, there he is. Oh my. Watch your knuckles. Watch your thumb. And these are bigger, on average, bigger fish than we were getting yesterday. We haven't got a small fish in here yet. Like an 18-incher kind of thing. We got 2 fish over 30 inches. and 4 that were probably 25. Oh, that's a good release. I'm fishing a fly with a trailer hook, so I'm always gonna check that just to make sure that the wire doesn't fail, and it didn't. He just came unbuttoned. That happens. I didn't want to bring another fish to the boat anyway. It's starting to smell. It was only natural at this point, having taken so many fish with subsurface flies, to switch to something on or near the surface. These fish were so aggressive that to add to the fun, this just made sense. And as it turned out, the next couple of hours we'd be witness to some of the most classic topwater fly fishing that any of us had ever seen. The timing here was impeccable. We just decided to try something on the surface, and I've got these big fish head. They're kind of floaty, and just as I changed it, the fish started to bust like crazy all around us and I could see the smelts coming out of the water, and he just clobbered that. Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! My goodness! My goodness! I am prime time, head over heels in love with striped bass. So cool. So not satisfied with just under the surface, we pushed to larger, aggressive popper-style baits. The results were pretty much the same. As I mentioned earlier, it was as if these fish couldn't help themselves. They wanted something a little more substantial. So we put on this Garside gurgler, which doesn't really look like a bait fish, but it's a big enough silhouette in the water, and the fish have been going crazy for it. This went on for most of the morning and into the early afternoon, and once again, we caught more fish than we deserved. And then this happened. This might eclipse yours, Ryan. I don't mean to. If I lose it, it definitely eclipsed yours.
Oh yeah, nice fish.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude. He's just hanging.
It's a substantial fish.
Yeah. Just gonna try changing the direction on him and see if he lights up a little bit.
Oh man, that's a big fish. That's way over 33 inches. That's way over 33 inches. Way.
All right, now I'm gonna get a little bit more diligent with him. Now that I've seen him, I want to get him.
That's about as big as I've ever seen.
Is that right?
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely huge fish.
Holy jumping Jiminy! This is a striper of a lifetime, at least for my lifetime.
Wow.
I can barely even hold him. That's what we're after. Not what we expected, but that's what we're after. It would be hard to end a show on a higher note than this, and we hoped you enjoyed watching this episode as much as we did making it. We need to thank Debbie and Dale and all of the staff at Upper Oxbow Adventures for treating us so well. Bobby Norton for keeping us into the fish, and New Brunswick Tourism for having us. I'd also like to thank my biggest supporter, my father, Mike Heel, for joining us on this trip and for putting up with me all these years. You're the best, Dad. If you want to experience this Miramichi striper adventure, get with the folks at Upper Oxbow and book a trip. You won't be sorry. To watch other shows in our series, check us out on YouTube or visit us on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. Until next time, good hunting, and we'll see you on the water.
The New Fly Fisher is supported by Tourism New Brunswick, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,